right, I am live. Hopefully this works today and I don't have any technical difficulties. And hopefully my internet connection is great and we can get through this without having any disruption. So first of all, thank you so much for joining this group. I am so excited to collaborate with more of you on new construction and just open this group up to anyone in EXP and just kind of hear from you guys what you experience with new construction and what questions you have. So if anyone hops on, please feel free to comment and let me know that you're watching, and I will post this also on YouTube so you can watch it later and share it with other people. So today I am just going to be kind of, again, doing an introduction and going over what is important for new construction sales. So, like I said, a little bit of background. If you didn't get to watch my story yesterday, I have been selling real estate since my first full year in the business was 2014. I got licensed in 2012 and kind of worked other jobs and trained and watched my family we had a real estate company, independently owned, and my brothers also had a building company. And so a lot of our business was focused on helping the building company and holding open their houses, listing the homes, and they were kind of our priority. So that's what I come from. And 2014 was my first full year in the business, and was able to sell about 15 new construction homes my first year. And then since 2014, I've sold over 200 new construction homes. The majority of the homes that I sell are built to order, meaning they are not built yet, and I take people from the beginning to the end of the process. So anyways, so people kind of ask, how do you do that? I've had realtors that, are new to real estate in general. So not only are they learning all the things that it is to become a realtor, but learning new construction is like a whole other ball game. And it's like you almost need to go to school for new construction. And from what I have seen is there's not a lot of information out there. Our office did a lot of inside training for new construction. And I would kind of call us like a specialized sales team to a sense, because we represented at the time one big builder, and a lot of the agents filled those open houses, and we met weekly to study the product, study the locations, go through the floor plans. We would walk the homes, and we would provide feedback to the builder on what people were saying about the houses. And then, like I said, we were able to meet people and sell them the homes. And if they had homes to sell, we would try to list their home and then time it so that they could close on the existing home and the new home the same day. And so, yeah, that was my focus for the last 6 years. And I want to, like I said, kind of just share with people how you get started in doing this in your own marketplace. Now, I understand it's not the same, I'm in Iowa, so I can imagine selling in other cities. It could be a little different. So, but I think that the principles are the same, and that's what I want to focus on. And then obviously, if you guys have questions or things you're dealing with in your area, we can always talk about those too, because people are people and we all kind of run into the same problems, I would assume. So the 3 things that I always would tell people that they need to know, and this could be true for existing homes as well, but especially important for new construction, and that would be knowledge of the buyer. So we have to ask, buying questions when we meet with people to see what they're looking for, what are their needs, what's their time frame. We got to have information, because otherwise, if you don't get that information up front, if you don't get information about their financing situation and how much they can afford, you literally should be showing houses for 3 years and they never buy anything. So save yourself the trouble and get the information up front with people, pre-qualify them, use a worksheet. I have so much information right now in front of me. Like, I have books and books of things that we have used over the years and just saved for different things that we've helped clients, just pre-qualify them for buying a home. So definitely use, like I said, that first appointment or first 2 appointments to get to know what they're wanting. And again, some people might even ask, well, how do I even find someone that wants to buy a new home? How I started was I did not just inherit a bunch of listings. I am the youngest of 6, and I have 5 older brothers, and they ran the show. Like, they took over the real estate company for my parents. They had their own building company, and they were in charge. And being the sister, I just was eager to learn and wanted to start somewhere. So they would just throw me kind of in an open house. And I didn't have the listing, but I did agree to sit there on Sundays from 1 to 4 was our time. And I would try to prepare ahead of time with my dad, who was also, I would consider, an expert at selling new construction. And so he trained me and prepared lots of materials for me over the years that I've been able to keep and use and share with others. So anyways, I would just sit in open houses. And obviously with open houses, lots of signage. We didn't do a lot of marketing. Honestly, my brothers were like, they basically were word of mouth, and they went from selling a couple homes their first couple, like 1 or 2 years in the business of building, to in 2018 being sold to a national builder. And they spent very, very little on marketing. It was mainly just putting up the inventory of the homes. We put out red open house signs that said new home, open house, classic builders, and we put out a lot of them to drive people into the areas. So that's what's kind of nice about open houses and new construction is a lot of people do want to see new houses. They're interested in what the styles are. And so they're just kind of coming to you in that sense. And like I said, you need to do some promoting ahead of time. There's ways through Facebook now. We usually do a Facebook event to let people know that there's an open house coming. Making sure your Realtor.com and Zillow are showing open houses. That's also going to be important because a lot of people are saving homes and they're going to get notified if there's an open house through their apps. So just making sure everything on the MLS is correct is huge. And like I said, so that's where I kind of started with open houses. But if you don't have an open house, one way you could start by attracting people to new construction in your area is to start looking up houses that are for sale that are brand new, and using your KV Core website. You should have access to all listings in your area. And if the new construction listings are on the MLS, then they should show up on your KV Core site. So what you could do is you could create information to post on either Facebook or email, and create these campaigns around new homes that are for sale. And people are interested in seeing what they can get for a new home. And so that's another way you can at least, get internet leads, or even just marketing to your sphere and your friends that you are connecting with on social media by sharing with them what's available for new homes in the area. And like I said, but that comes back to knowledge of inventory. So there's not really a correct order for this. It just depends where you're at in your business. So if you have a buyer that you're currently working with, then you definitely want to get information from them up front. If you don't have a buyer yet, but you're going to be looking for buyers, I would say the next thing is obviously knowledge of the product and inventory. So that way, when you do run into someone, you know what you're talking about. And it's not just, oh, I'll get back to you, let me check. And, not that that's not a great follow-up line. It is a great follow-up line, but why not be prepared for when they're hot and ready? So with that, like I said, knowledge of product, that could be homes for sale, builders, lots, things like that. You have to know what's available in order to be able to pass that on to people. So I always tell people it's a lot of boots on the ground. You're going to have to go and view these developments. You're going to have to walk through the floor plans, memorize the floor plans, figure out, do they have pricing? What does it cost? What's the process of buying or building a home? All of that goes into knowledge of the product and inventory. And then the third part would be, how do I buy this house? Or how does someone buy a new home? And there is a sales axiom that we've always used, and that is to maximize the benefit while minimizing the cost. So I think one of the reasons why I've loved new construction is because a lot of times you can compare it to existing homes and just kind of see, okay, here's an existing home. It's $220,000. It is 30 years old. It might need a new roof. It needs updating. All of this adds up to this amount versus a brand new house for X amount. Maybe the new house is $235,000. It's only $15,000 more. And so you get to compare side by side what these homes cost. And a lot of times the new home ends up being about the same or a better value to the buyer, especially when we're looking at payments, because almost all people are financing their homes these days. So we want to focus on what is your payment going to be? How much is it going to cost you out of pocket to do this home? So not that there's not out of pocket expenses on a new home. I completely agree that there is. But at the same time, I think that, we can get very distracted on just what the price is, and we kind of forget about the cost of actually owning a home, and maintenance and replacement costs. All of that goes into, your client's pocketbook at the end of the day. And so the way home prices have moved, and, building prices are going up, existing home prices are going up, and it just depends on your marketplace, knowing what is the appreciation on existing homes and compare that to the price of a new home in your area. Because then again, all you're doing is just presenting options to your client to say, okay, we can look at these new homes and they are around this price range. Then we'll also go look at existing, and then they will usually make the decision of what they want to do. And a lot of my people have decided, it's a better deal to just buy a new house. So those are, just like I said, the 3 things you need to know about new construction. And then those are also just kind of principles I would use in general for sales to, like I said, do more volume and actually get people to sign contracts. You got to have those 3 things. So I have a couple other things that I wanted to kind of get into for inventory and just practical things you can use to help you. One, obviously, internet is amazing. We can just, Google and look for builders in your area, look for developers, see if they have websites with available developments and lots. And what I would do, and I have one here, is I created like a binder, and you could probably make this more high tech and like put it in an iPad, but I just had a binder that I would carry around. And this binder was for a development in Ankeny that had these hot homes that were brand new, but they were in like the mid 200 price range, which was very similar to existing homes that were 20 to 30 years old. So like I said, just to have all your information in a binder or some kind of, something people can look through. And what I would put in a binder for new construction, if you have a client, especially that you're working with, and this isn't even if you're working for the builder, this is just for you to take to those appointments so that you can sit down and be like, look, I have all this information. I want to go through it with you. So a couple things I would do is I have like an intro page. So something I have made, and I'd be happy to share this with you guys, and you can tailor it to how it would work in your area, but a lot of times it's very much the same. But I just would have like 8 steps to build your new home, and that way people can kind of see what the timeline is. Like, where do we start? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So my 8 steps have I've identified has been to, 1, get pre-approved, because before you go waste your time, and it's not necessarily wasting, but if you're making an appointment to go and show houses or talk to someone and it's during family dinner, you want to make sure they're approved to buy the house and that their credit is decent. And then, like I said, it's going to be worth your time and their time, because their time is important as well. So we want to be upfront. Let's get people pre-approved. Now, that doesn't just mean send them to the lender and let them do the pre-approval and then they call and say, yeah, they're good to go, or nope, not good to go. You need to do the job of pre-qualifying them. So ask questions, do you have a home to sell? How much money do you make a year? What's your goal in your monthly payment? Do you want to be in the 30% debt to income ratio or the 40 debt, to income ratio, 40%. So you need to do your part as a realtor and help them, like I said, get pre-qualified to make the rest of these things happen. So the next thing would be that this, like I said, this is 8 steps to building a new home. It could be buying. But the next part would be to obviously, once you've showed them the homes and they find something that they want, write the offer. So when you write a new construction offer, almost all the time, you can at least put this contingency in there. It's normally under the condition of the property. There's usually a new construction paragraph. And if not, you can do an addendum, but it would be subject to plans, specs, and pricing. So if you're going to buy a new home, usually the person is going to want to make changes, and they're going to want to get pricing back on what those changes will be. So it's really important to offer with your purchase agreement that the buyer can have time, and it's usually 14 to 30 days, however long would be enough time so that they could get, information on making changes, make changes to the plan, get the pricing back, and we know what the price is going to be before we start building the house. So you owe it to your buyer to put that in there, that they have the chance to approve the plans and specs and pricing. And if they don't approve the plans and pricing at the end of that time period, then they could cancel and do something else, and their earnest money may or may not be returned. That's also going to be noted on the purchase agreement. Normally, when you write that offer, most builders are going to require earnest money. So I have earnest money, normally a minimum of $1,000 with the offer, and then there's usually additional at the time that they dig the basement or start the construction process. So the next part would be that we need to select the floor plan. Obviously, when you go in to write that offer, you probably already have a plan in mind and a price range. So fine-tuning that floor plan with them, and again, it's going to help when you become the expert on the floor plan, and you can offer that advice and on what changes you would make if it was your house. And you can only really do that when you walk through the plans and you kind of learned what they look like, and you're not just sitting there in the background. So I would say get involved and learn what these floor plans offer, their features, and become an expert at the floor plans. The next step people usually have is to modify their plan, and they do that with the builder. And then after that, they can sign off on final plan and price. And at that point, they'll go ahead and usually start building your home. And if it's subject to sale, a lot of builders will build subject to sale to a certain point, and then they'll expect to have that subject to sale removed in order to keep the house that they are building going and not market for sale. If you get to a certain point where your client and their home is not sold, then the builder could put that new home up for sale, meaning that your client doesn't have to buy the new home, but they might lose out if they don't get their home sold. So there's some moving parts, but we like to teach agents how to time that appropriately so that it works out for your clients and their builder. And then the last part I had was I loved listing those people's home that we're going to build, because for me, having control over the timing and just, I have all the incentive in the world to get their home sold because I want them to get into the new house. And so being able to be part of that was huge for me, and just expressing that, there's value with working with me on the buy side, and then also listing your home versus going out and hiring another agent to list their home but doesn't have any clue to what's going on with their situation. So I would get a lot of list backs from the people buying and building a new home, and that was great. So I really enjoyed that. It just brought us closer together, and it was really good. So I have like I said, 8 steps to build, and that was huge for me. And I just, like I said, it just kind of lays it out and puts a time frame to everything so that they know what to expect. The other things I would put in the binder is start looking for plat maps and places where builders are building. And so for this builder, he had a development and all the plat lots that you can see, and then the lot descriptions for addresses, and then also even some of the plans that were available on those lots. So I would say start collecting those or saving the websites where you're going to find that, because I find when you hold an open house, people are going to come in and they may not want the house that you're in, but they may want a different house. So you better be prepared and know what's out there and either be able to share that information with them, or better yet, set an appointment, go take a look at other developments, other lots, so that you can sell them something if they're not interested in the one that you're holding open or the one that you have listed. Or if you take them to one and they walk through it and they're like, okay, I really like this plan, but I want to be on this side of town. How do we overcome that? How do we help these people find something? And like I said, you got to be the matchmaker in that sense. So the other thing I would have is if you were working with a particular builder, I would make sure that you have something that helps you sell their house. So for me, I would take their floor plan, and I created this. I would take their floor plan and I would put it on, I used Canva to create this. I would figure out what their pricing was. Some builders don't have base pricing, and you're gonna have to dig a little bit and ask. Some builders will have it figured out, and you can use that as a starting place. So starting at, 254.4, and that would not, this, may or may not include the lot. You need to specify that, but, tell the people what's included. Oops, that's kind of hard to read. And then also, what are the additional options that people can have? So just giving people that information up front, it's something they can then begin to think about before they start going down the path. And again, you're the one giving them that information. So I love that. I made that in Canva. It was free. Sometimes builders already have that information, but sometimes they don't. And that's why they need you, because you can come in and say, hey, I am here to help you sell more homes. And honestly, it's hard to sell build-to-orders when people don't know what they're buying. And so if a builder is not organized enough to have this information, I just took that on as part of my job to give it, to the builder and say, hey, you have these plans for sale. These are the lots. Here's what you've been charging. Are you okay with me sharing this with potential people who want to build? And most of the time they're like, yeah, whatever, and you can put a disclosure on there just saying, subject to change and pricing at any time. And, it's just, like I said, it's a place to start. So between your steps to build, lots and locations, and then floor plans and pricing, I would have that all in like a nice little binder. And then you can use this when you go out and sell your new homes. And not that you can't do it on your phone, but I just think there's something like, bringing this, showing people, and if it's, something they want to take home with them and scratch on and take notes, you can just give them the paper. I'm still a little bit old school in using paper and giving people flyers. So that would be my recommendation on starting. And I think that I don't want to go too long today, but I would say that's my recommendation. You got to know what the inventory is, and that was kind of what I wanted the focus to be for today. So if you can identify lots, developments, spec homes, which would be like a model home for sale, and then also what builders are, offering for incentives. Now is a great time to notice those things, because builders will be promoting more incentives this time of year to get people to kind of buy before the end of the year. They want to get through their inventory, and then they can start, fresh for the new year. So be on the lookout for builder incentives. And again, that's information that you get to just share with your clients to say, hey, this builder's offering a move-in ready package, fridge, washer, dryer, blinds, and all that's included. And your home will sell this time of year. It's always a good time to sell. You just maximize the benefit of selling in the fall or right before the holidays, and then you're in a new home for the new year and the holidays. So I love, like I said, all those ideas, but that's where I would start. And I would appreciate if you guys would give feedback on what you're thinking, what's working for you. This is how I've done it. And we've been able to sell a lot of new construction homes myself, about 200 to this date. And yeah, it works. So if you guys have questions, comment. I will try to get this over to another page on YouTube so you can look at it there. And I'd be happy to share my notes and any of the, like I said, steps to build. And the next one I will be doing will be more going over probably maybe just the tips for selling and selling those new construction homes dialogue that you're going to use to get the appointments when you meet people. So I'll have that maybe be my next video, is how to get that appointment and what are the dialogues that we use to get people to say yes. So I hope this was helpful, and feel free to contribute. I want to hear from you guys. This isn't just about me. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Good luck with open houses. Be safe. And yes, happy fourth quarter.